Solana has an incredible amount of things going on behind the scenes right now that are not really being shown on the price charts. And that's a fantastic thing because it gives us a phenomenal opportunity to maybe pick up some Solana and ride it up for some very quick, easy gains. Now, since the start of this year, I've been telling you that Solana was heavily undervalued, mainly in part due to the FTX collapse that happened in November of last year. FTX had a huge exposure to Solana, and this dragged Solana's price with it as it went down. Now, as we look into the crypto bubbles, we can see a sea of red today, and that's not surprising as we see Bitcoin sliding away from that barrier of $30,000. And we'll jump into the Solana price charts later on once we got through the most important stuff going on Solana right now. So do me a favor, hit that like button, hit subscribe, and let's get into today's video. Now, the first thing that's really important to look at is the number of daily active addresses. Now, we can see some very interesting things here. We've got Ethereum, Polygon, and Solana in the green. And while we've seen most of them kind of like staying fairly even, pegging all the way along, we've suddenly seen an explosion in the number of active addresses on Solana. So what is it that's really driving that? There's been a lot of developments happening in and around Solana right now. Phantom Wallet, which is pretty much the MetaMask, if you like, of the Solana blockchain, used for the Solana NFTs that you find out on Magic Eden, etc. Phantom multi-chain is rolling out today, and this will now allow users to use Ethereum, Polygon, and Solana without having to switch wallets. This is extremely powerful because it means there is no longer a need or requirement to change from different blockchains in order to buy different NFTs and things like that. This is also helping a massive explosion in the NFT market when it comes to Solana as well, and they're already making up huge ground on the pre-existing Ethereum marketplace. That's mainly in part due to the fact that Ethereum gas fees still remain incredibly high and the network still appears to get congested fairly easily, making the world of trading NFTs on Ethereum continually difficult. I also believe that the future of NFTs isn't really in profile pictures, but actually a move towards legal documents and things like that, perhaps having NFT versions of your passport or home ownership. As we move into the world of GameFi as well, many games and Web3 applications are also being built on Solana, again, building its use case, and actually something that's also driving a lot of active addresses being opened up on the Solana blockchain. All I want to do is invest in projects that are gaining user base, that have tons of utility, that's growing all the time, that are branching out and being innovative, because this is where I see the biggest gains coming from as an investor. Now, Solana boasts incredibly fast transaction speeds with up to 65,000 transactions per second. It's also increasingly scalable and extraordinarily cheap. Its only limiting factor is the technology that is around it right now, in my opinion, and as we see the technology improve, Solana is more than capable of keeping up to speed with that. Now, looking into the trading volume, pre-FTX collapse, there was a trading volume in the 4 months that preceded that of around $5.54 billion. Jump to today, in the first 4 months of this year, we've seen $5.57 billion worth of trading volume happening on the Solana network. This shows that pre-FTX collapse, we weren't seeing quite as much activity as we are seeing on the network now. Solana Labs has also announced a key partnership where they'll offer this plugin for ChatGPT, where you'll be able to use the ChatGPT AI technology to be able to look at different trades, transactions, and all things associated with the Solana blockchain. This is an extremely exciting and progressive move. If we also think about things like the new Solana phone that's come out, we're seeing Solana do things that no other cryptocurrency in the space has really been doing. Yes, there's lots of key partnerships developing in other cryptos, but this for me is another really big piece of the puzzle. Solana has also offered a new state compression tool, which allows people to then create an enormous number of NFTs for a very low cost. Here you can see the cost of minting 1 million NFTs on the Solana blockchain, sitting at just over $110. This is phenomenally exciting because it opens up the NFT market to even more creators. And yes, while we look at other blockchains and we rave about all of their partnerships and things that have been going on, Solana famously exploded in the last bull market. Being one of the biggest newcomers that there had ever been before was basically the ability they had to create a huge amount of funding early on. And as we add usability and use cases to this network, that institutional funding will come back into the space, and it will be looking to areas such as Solana. Now, as we jump over to the charts, I want to look at the Bitcoin price before we jump over and look at Solana, and there's a very key reason for that. As we know, and I've covered it in a few previous videos, Bitcoin will pump, and then we'll see the larger caps, of which Solana is one, start to pump towards the upside as well. However, on the flip side of things, when you're seeing Bitcoin falling by like 1 or 2% like it has done today, you will see other cryptocurrencies getting heavily punished towards the downside. Now, what we saw with Bitcoin was this aggressive rally all the way up, and then we've been sort of stagnating in this area. Whereas Solana has done something a little bit more interesting. We haven't seen much movement in general from Solana since all the way back at the start of this year, where we had that big pump towards the upside. This, as you know, was the FTX collapse, and that basically saw Solana recovering pretty much to pre-FTX collapse prices, or at least where you would expect the price to be if it wasn't for that massive downside move. What else is very interesting right now? While we've seen other cryptocurrencies continuing to rally in this period, Solana is doing exactly what it should be doing while Bitcoin is making an indecisive move. We're seeing Solana putting in these highs around $26. But what we're actually looking at that's quite interesting is perhaps the shape of this chart down here, where we're getting a shoulder, a head, and another shoulder, forming what, in my opinion, is an inverse head and shoulders. And what we're actually looking at right now, and why I've been picking up Solana today again, is because of what we have on the charts right now. Now, in this video I made about Jasmy on Saturday, I talked about the importance of identifying buy zones. And remember, we found our buy zones by identifying big pumps in the market. For example, this one here, where in just a few days, Solana went up something like 26%. We can then go to the source of that pump, which is about here. We can draw ourselves a nice box across. Now, I anticipate that Bitcoin will continue to slide perhaps a few $100 more towards the downside, maybe a little bit more, and that will see the likes of Solana pushing down harder. But weirdly, you haven't seen Solana falling aggressively against Bitcoin. In fact, Solana is not as far down today as Bitcoin is, which is very weird. It shows that there is a lot more stability in the Solana price, and that's because we're getting a lot more active addresses coming in. A lot of people actually buying Solana to trade NFTs. A lot of people buying Solana to use for various different applications. And this is very interesting because in the rest of the crypto market, the investors typically don't have any other reason to hold a coin than they just want it to go up in value. So when we've identified our buy zone, we can see that Solana has now started to come into this area once and is now trying to enter into it again. And if we get a break down into this area, then we will see a nice pump back towards that green line minimum, which in a very short space of time could see you making 31% gains. But not only that, the more time we break against a door, the more time we hit against a door, ultimately what it's doing is it's taking out the opposing trades. And once the opposing trades get depleted, the trades that are pushing it in that direction will eventually crack through and you will get a push off. What we can see is, yeah, we've pushed into this area. We got rejected pretty hard down here to around $17, but it's still looking very bullish for me. And something else that's extremely interesting. If we look at this daily chart, we can see that we've got highs and this is our downtrend. Remember, when we break through a downtrend, you'll see an influx of volume, a likely massive surge in the price. And while other coins have been looking a bit more volatile and seeing much more going on, we're seeing a definite lack of volatility in the Solana price. And as you can see, this is the green trend line here that comes down through here. If we're breaking through that, well, ultimately we're going to then get met with this resistance here, but then the price will shoot up fairly aggressively, in my opinion, to the next levels. Now you've got a resistance line coming in up here, and then another one slightly higher up. But from the current price, just to that first resistance area, looking at 84%, if you get to that second one, that's 126%. I haven't seen any other charts right now that are looking this promising in terms of a potential short-term gain. And I do believe that if we see a push in Bitcoin suddenly beyond 30K, you are going to see Solana exploding up to around $40, maybe even higher. Add all these things together with a heavily discounted price, and that for me just makes it a great opportunity. I identify the usability and things like that. I identify whether we got a discount, because ultimately all price charts is moving from undervalued to overvalued. Right now, Solana remains undervalued. Other cryptocurrencies have inflated more and perhaps have been a bit overvalued. So in fact, they come down towards the downside. And if you want to learn more about how to make money in cryptocurrency, then get in my Telegram. It's linked down below and absolutely free. Hope you enjoyed that video, guys. I will see you again tomorrow with another video. Bye-bye.